Hi guys, so today we'll be speaking about the seed and then about germination, dormancy, and all of those related topics and the enzymes and hormones and everything that's related to this main central topic. So, as you know, this topic is found widely spread throughout the resource. So, it's not just in Unit 3, but you find some parts in Unit 4 and some related parts in even Unit 1 that we don't really interconnect. So, today I'll be interconnecting all of these into one mind map and I'll be giving you a brief idea. And this is all you need to, get the gist and answer any question that can come up in this topic. So let's begin. So firstly, you have a seed, right? So what is a seed? Seed is the dispersal unit of seed plants. So we know obviously seed plants have seeds. So that's going to be the dispersal unit, which means seeds are going to go and germinate in different places. And that's how new plants are going to be found in different habitats. Okay. So now we have to see the parts of a seed. A seed consists of three main parts. Okay. Firstly, you have the embryo. Then secondly, you have the food reserves. And thirdly, the seed coat. So now the embryo, when the sperm fuses with the egg, it results in a zygote, which later becomes the embryo. And then you can see the food reserves. Now this is going to be the endosperm. So if you are aware of double fertilization and all, it's very unique to Anthophyta. So phylum Anthophyta is going to have double fertilization resulting in food reserves, which is an endosperm. So it's triploid, which means it has three nuclei, okay, and that's going to be a reason for it to store enough of food for the growing embryo. Okay, this embryo is going to depend on this food for now. And then you have the seed coat. Now what is a seed coat? It's the outer covering of the seed that's obviously going to help it and protect it from extreme environmental conditions. Anything that's unfavorable is going to be shielded, and protecting the embryo is going to be done by the seed coat. Now, we move on to germination. Now, I told you when there's a seed, that seed will germinate, and that's how you can find new plants. New plants are going to grow from it, and that's how the plant life keeps on propagating. But we know for germination, there are some conditions, okay? You need to have these box ticked in order for germination to occur. So, water has to be present, oxygen, suitable temperature, these are directly given in Unit 4. But they have also mentioned light as a subpoint under phytochromes, cryptochromes, where you speak about the seed germination and all. There they have mentioned that light is also important. So, if there is a question in the structure asking for the factors important for germination, first three would be water, oxygen, and suitable temperature. And then you have to also speak about the light. Because when you plow a field, then what do? You allow small plantlets also or seeds also to be exposed to the light. Or death of a shady tree. So when a shady tree dies also, you have enough of light for the younger ones to germinate. So light is also an important point. So, for example, they can ask this in an MCQ, but most of us just refer to the first three, right? Then we won't come across this light factor. Now, if any of these or one or more of these factors are not suitable, then what happens? It's not germinated. The seed is not germinated, and that's what you call as dormancy. Dormancy means now, even in common day to day terms, we say dormancy is when something is inactive, right? So, here also, when the seed is not active enough, when it's not active enough to germinate, you call it dormancy. So, there's a definition for dormancy also, where it goes along like the inhibition of the seed within the fruit embryo, inhibition of the seed at some stage of maturation naturally, which prevents the germination of the seed within the fruit. That's going to be called what? Dormancy. So now we know the causes of dormancy, right? Water, oxygen, suitable temperature, and light not being sufficient enough. But what are the factors that cause it? How is water not made sufficient? How in what situation is oxygen not sufficient? There has to be some situation, no? So now, for example, if there are inhibitors, there are some inhibitors, they don't allow these factors to be fulfilled. Or if there is a thick or a strong seed coat, if there is a strong seed coat, we know oxygen cannot go through, and the suitable temperature can also not be maintained, and also water. So if there's a strong and thick seed coat, then water will not be allowed into the seed, right? Then what happens? Still, you can't germinate, so it remains dormant. Or if the seed coat is impervious to water, there are some seed coats, they are very impervious to water. So what you do? You soak them in water. So that's like a procedure we do usually in order to germinate a seed, right? So being impervious, thick or strong seed coat, or even presence of inhibitors are going to be like causative reasons for dormancy. So what happens is this seed is going to remain dormant until the favorable conditions arise. Until change, like conditions change, this seed will remain dormant. So that's like an adaptation for life actually. So if the seed wants to survive, it will remain dormant till its time comes. But we know there's an example of an adaptation that's mentioned in Unit 1, I think. Yeah, in Unit 1, where they speak about viviparity in some mangroves. So now viviparity in some mangroves is where in mangroves the seed is germinated inside the fruit itself. So here what happens, it's not waiting for dormancy, it's an adaptation. So viviparity in mangroves is an exception for this. While other seeds wait till their environmental conditions are favorable, mangroves show viviparity. So this is how you can link Unit 4, Unit 3 and Unit 1 together, right? So now we know the seed has not got its conditions right, so it's waiting for its chance to germinate. And what is the hormone that's regulating this, or promoting seed dormancy and regulating the early germination? Abscisic acid. So we call it ABA. Abscisic acid is the one that's promoting seed dormancy and inhibiting early germination. So what is abscisic acid doing? It's doing something good for the plant, right? Because it's preventing it becoming matured soon. That will result in its death eventually. So what is it doing? It's promoting the seed dormancy. Now, instead of memorizing these hormones separately in tables without any logical reason, if you remember it with each situation, then you can understand and remember it better. Okay. So now, after the dormancy, we move on to seed dispersal. Now we know if these conditions are fulfilled. Now, if all of these boxes get ticked, then what? The seed is ready to germinate. So when the seed is ready to germinate, then we know the seed is dispersed. What is dispersal of seed? Dispersal of seed means seed is thrown to different places. It's dispersed. So because of seed dispersal, it has better chance for growth, development and survival. So now this seed dispersal can be done in three ways. By water, by wind and also by animals. So three methods mainly that can help in seed dispersal. So now initially we spoke about the seed and then we said that it doesn't have the suitable conditions to germinate. Therefore, it undergoes dormancy. And then when conditions are okay, it undergoes seed dispersal. Now what happens? Germination is going to kickstart. Now, what is the process that happens in seed germination? So, firstly, what happens is that the seed coat is going to have cellulose, right? So, cellulose is going to be a hydrophilic substance. So, most of you all might think cellulose is a hydrophobic substance. No, even though it does not dissolve in water, it is hydrophilic, right? So, cellulose is going to absorb water. Cellulose cell walls is going to absorb the water. So, first, it's going to be water absorption. When water is absorbed, then what happens is water is going to activate the enzymes present inside. When the enzymes are activated, then what happens? The food resources are going to get mobilized, which means they are going to become more mobile, moving, right? They are going to start moving. And when the enzymes are activated and when the food resources are mobilized, then what happens? The embryo starts to rapidly grow. So rapid growth process of the embryo starts. So after the rapid growth process, you can see that different parts arise from the embryo, and that's how the seed eventually becomes, a plant. Now, like we spoke about the abscisic acid when it comes to promoting seed dormancy and inhibiting early germination, here we speak about gibberellins. Gibberellins are going to stimulate the seed development and germination. So relate it with the process and then you can understand and remember it better. Okay. So you have mobilization of food resources and then what happens? The embryo is going to rapidly grow. Now in this rapid growth process, what happens first is now you have the embryo, right? There's a part like the root extending downwards. That's going to be the radicle. And there's a part extending upwards that's called the plumule. So the part that extends downward is called the radicle. That's going to later become the root part. Plumule is going to form the shoot. Okay. So this radicle is the one that extends first. So right after embryo starts rapid growth, radicle is going to extend first. So in the process of seed germination, we have five main steps. So even if they ask what is seed germination, you have to mention all these five steps mainly. Firstly, water absorption by the cellular cell walls, then enzymes are activated, then mobilization of food resources, then embryo's rapid growth process kickstarts, and then you have the radicle being extended. Now you know the radicle is going to grow downwards, whereas the plumule is going to go upwards. Now this radicle is going to show positive geotropism. What is positive geotropism? If you are growing towards the ground, towards gravity, you show positive geotropism. If you are going away from gravity, that's above the ground, you are going to show negative geotropism. So this can even be asked as an MCQ. So you can see radicle shows positive geotropism, whereas plumule shows negative geotropism. Now that we are speaking about the root and everything, you can also remember this part. So this is also related to the hormones. When you speak about root, there are three main factors you have to remember in relation to hormones. First, the promoting the formation of lateral and adventitious roots, that's done by auxin. Then regulating cell division in roots by cytokinins. And then root and root hair formation, that is done by ethylene. So three hormones, that's how you can relate it with this process as well. And then what happens? The plumule grows, right? Plumule grows above the ground. And then you're going to find two cotyledons, okay? Now, these two cotyledons, based on the number of cotyledons, you decide whether an anthophyta, a plant that belongs to phylum Anthophyta, is a monocot or a dicot. So, if there are two cotyledons like this, you call it dicot. If there is only one cotyledon, you call it what? A monocot. And you can see now the plumule extends like this, and there's a part below the cotyledon, right? This part below the cotyledon is called what? A hypocotyle. So there's a part above the cotyledon that's not there in the resource. It's called hypercotyle. Hypo means something below. Hypotension, hypertension. Hyper means above, hypo means below. So here also below the cotyledons you have a part that's called what? Hypocotyle. So that's it. This is the whole process of seed germination, seed dormancy, and the whole process of how everything happens. Okay. So you have to remember this like a mind map and then you can easily recall. So let me just brush through the points again. Firstly, you have the seed, you have to remember the parts and the function of each part. And then you have to speak about the germination factors and then dormancy, what are the factors that cause it, and then adaptation or exception for this dormancy. And then we can speak about how dispersal happens. And after dispersal, you can speak about germination. So if you consider like a flow chart, it has to be seed, then dormancy, then dispersal, then germination. This is all you have to remember. And this is a very famous point to, ask for MCQs as well, because you can, they can question about the geotropism here. Then you can speak about the conditions that cause dormancy and all that. So it's better if you spend some time to go through this again. And I hope it benefited you in some way, and see you in the next video. Thank you.